David Grasso, live here at the SALT conference with an old friend, Leanna Haakons. How you doing?
Yes, I'm well. Thanks, David.
Tell us, you're an author, you're a spokesperson, you're an influencer, you're also a nice person. Tell us about your work.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. You're great as well. So yes, I started a company 5 years ago, Blackhawk Financial. We do marketing services in the alternative space, like here at SALT, lots of hedge funds, private equity, that type of thing. But I also wrote a book a couple of years ago called Young, Fun, and Financially Free, and it's a financial literacy book for people in their 20s to 40s, kind of a money 101, and all the proceeds go to the We charity.
So, tell us the cliff notes. I know you'd rather people buy your book, but let's just say the viewer doesn't have your book. What should they know?
Well, it really is a chapter on all the basics, everything from spending, saving, investing, to when life blows up and you need to have things like insurance, a lawyer, an accountant, having that dream team of experts that you collect in your earlier years, and how to really just have all those basic adulting skills.
So, let's talk about the 3 most important takeaways from your book.
I would say that number 1, if you have any kind of debt, that's something that you need to analyze and take a look at.
Including student debt?
Student debt, definitely, but the biggest, baddest debt of all is credit card debt, no matter what age you are. So that one you got to pay down first. So taking a look at your debt and prioritizing the different types of debt you have. And again, credit card debt would be the number 1 thing to pay off first. I think the second biggest takeaway from the book is in terms of saving and investing. The younger you can start doing that, the better. So, we've all heard of compounding interest and compounding your investments over time. The difference that 5 or 10 years makes is massive. So start small, do a little bit at a time, even $25 a month, $50 a month. Starting in your 20s or your early 30s, as young as possible, makes a huge, huge difference. And the third biggest takeaway from the book, I would say, is that everybody can bounce back. No matter what has happened in your life, personally, professionally, if you've gone through rough times and you've made mistakes, everybody learns from mistakes, and that's what mistakes and having accidents in life are for, is that you can bounce back from them and learn from it and do better next time.
So funny enough, you're giving all this advice, but you're an entrepreneur, which is perhaps the most unstable profession on earth, right? Because no one runs out and gives you insurance, you can lose clients, your business can crash overnight. How do you keep all your financial goals while taking the entrepreneurial plunge?
Yeah, and that's also a reason why I wrote the book in my 20s and starting my company. I started my company about 3.5 years prior to writing the book, and I've been through crazy stuff, and from $1 million lawsuits to losing very, very close people in my life, and going through grief and personal things as well. And so that's why I decided to write the book, because throughout all of these experiences, I learned how to have experts on my team and a personal support circle, and learning from experiences and learning how to bounce back, whether it's financial situations, career situations, personal situations, and how to empathize with people in different situations, and how to maybe show through some experiences. And I think my favorite chapter of the book is chapter 10. And that's a lot of personal experiences, stories from people that I know. Actually, one experience that I wrote about in the book was last year, or the last SALT in 2017, this conference. I met Steve Harvey and talked about his story, where he was homeless until he was almost 40. He didn't become a famous comedian until he was almost 40, and he was homeless, living in his car. He talked about it as a keynote speaker at SALT here in 2017 over lunch, and I decided to include his story in my book because that's an excellent example that success doesn't always come to you at such a young age. You're not necessarily a millionaire by the time you're 25. It doesn't mean it's game over. You can always bounce back later in life, and you're not necessarily going to get there as young or as early as you thought you would. And sometimes you got to struggle before you make it. So I included a lot of stories like that in chapter 10. So sometimes I tell people to read chapter 10 first, and then get a bit of inspiration, and then go back to the beginning.
Read all the dense stuff later. Well, everyone loves a good comeback story, and we're glad you were able to come back and use your platform to preach economic security and success, and that it's never too late to change.
Yes.
Leanna, always a pleasure.
Thank you. Great to see you, David.